Vacations Get to Know You sessions. I'm Natalie Corda, and today we'll be talking to Andrew Carmines, co-owner with his wife and family of Hudson's Seafood House on the Docks in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Hudson's has been in the family since 1975, and Andrew knows how to operate a seafood restaurant that keeps people coming back. Thank you so much for taking time today to talk.
Thank you for having me.
And it's
so
super
fun.
exciting to be able to meet you, and we love coming out to your restaurant because
Thank
it's
you.
just a great setup. For people who might not be familiar with your restaurant, what makes Hudson's Seafood on the Docks different from restaurants that are in Hilton Head?
Well, I think a lot of things. I mean, the history of the restaurant really kind of is unique, and there's not a lot of very old establishments. Hilton Head's a relatively new community, at least a new community for relative to some others. So back in the 20s, the buildings that we're in right now, situated on Skull Creek, were all a pier built on palm pilings. So essentially it was a dock. And over the course of dozens of years of the native island population, basically the native island men used to row out in the morning on oar-powered skiffs called bateaus, and they would go out and harvest oysters. In the afternoon, they'd bring a load of oysters back to the dock, and the women and children would be on either side of a 100-foot-long table, and they would shuck the oysters, pack the meat in steel-belted barrels where they'd be barged to Charleston and then distributed up north to Boston, New York, and Chicago. Over the dozens of years of the oyster operation, the shells built up over time, and ultimately Benny Hudson, the son of the original owner, sometime in the 60s, raked those oysters out into the shape of a man-made peninsula and started pouring concrete and building buildings. So the foundation of the restaurant is both literally and figuratively built on oysters.
Oh, wow.
It's funny, we just had some plumbing work done, and we dug up the foundation back here, and it's all solid oyster shells. I mean, that's what the restaurant sits on. So that's very unique. It's unique that that this place was really one of the only commercial operations on Hilton Head going back that far. And I think what separates it today is the fact that we've really stayed true to our roots. We still harvest a lot of the seafood that we serve at the restaurant today. And there's just not a lot of places that do that to the extent that we do and to the scale that we do. We have our own oyster farm. We have our own soft shell crab shedding operation. We have 2 shrimp boats that catch all of the shrimp that we serve throughout the year. So we do a lot of things the old-fashioned way, and we feel like the quality speaks for itself.
And we think that you can feel the passion when you walk in here, just seeing you mingling with the people who are here eating, seeing you down on the docks. I mean, one of the first times we were here, we saw you walking around and didn't know that you were the owner.
Right.
And you're just involved in everything. And you go to the tables. We saw you serving food yesterday. I
always,
mean,
yeah.
You're always helping out. And the people who are working here, they show a passion for what they do because they're knowledgeable about everything.
Well, we're very lucky, I'll tell you. We've got just a really amazing group of people working here, and they genuinely take pride in what they do, and it's an enjoyable place to be. I mean, I come into work to work brunch on Sundays, and it doesn't feel like work. I generally know almost every customer that comes in. In the summertime, obviously, we have a lot of people visiting the island, but we treat them just like we treat the people that are year-round residents. And I think people get that sense when they're here. And I think that they feel like part of the family. And I think there's really no substitute for that, and you can't fake it. I mean, it's got to be genuine, and I think that's something that our guys do a really good job of.
And it's always a great experience when we're here, and that's kind of nice because this has been in the family since 1975. I mean,
Yep.
What's changed with what you used to do as a kid and how that shaped what you became as now part owner?
It's crazy. I'll tell you. when I was in college and after college, I really don't think that I realized how much I actually learned by absorption. I used to get punished and have to clean up the parking lot or clean the bathrooms. And then as I got older, I wanted money, so I would, help roll silverware, check in shrimp deliveries, check in seafood or grocery deliveries. And just by being around it and hearing, I guess, my parents talk about it at home, I didn't realize that I was really in a much better position to do this as a career, nor did I know if I really wanted to. So I guess that's kind of what we hope that our kids will want to be involved. I have 3 children, 6, 5, and 2.
Wow.
So I hope that they'll want to be involved, but if they choose not to, that's okay too. Hopefully one of them will step up though.
So is it 2 girls and a boy?
2 girls and a boy.
Okay.
Alice and Millie are 6 and 5, and then the baby boy Oak is 2.
Oh, wow. So what do you enjoy most about being in the restaurant business?
That's a good question. So the reason why we do a lot of the things the old-fashioned way, I think sometime around 2009 or 2010, we were buying really nice seafood, and we were still getting shrimp from the boats. But I think at some point I recognized that if I was going to do this for my whole life, that I needed to keep it fresh and interesting.
Sure.
And just going through the motions and coming in and working a management shift every day for the rest of my working days was not going to be enough.
Sure.
So we just started kind of really just digging into some of these ideas. The idea that it started really with the soft shell crabs. So during soft shell crab season, I was really disenchanted with the quality of the product, the live soft shell crabs that we were buying. Because what they do is they'll let them harden up just enough to where they'll live in a box for 3 or 4 days because chefs don't like to accept dead crabs at the door. So what happened is it started with me saying to the soft shell crab shedders, hey, I'll come and pick them up every day if you'll make them really, really soft for me.
Sure.
And so during soft shell crab season, I was driving an hour and a half every other day to pick up soft shell crabs. And I ran into a guy that was a crabber, and he said, what's going on? How you been? I said, man, I'm miserable. I have to drive to Ladies Island every other day to pick up soft shell crabs because I can't get them soft enough otherwise. And he said, man, he's like, if you want, I can show you how to set up an operation to do it. And I said, great. So we did it, and it was hugely successful, and it was fun. I mean, yeah, we stayed up, you work the graveyard shift every night for 5 weeks, which is tough, but it was such a rewarding experience actually producing something and watching people enjoy it and talk about how much they liked it. And that was just the springboard for an aha moment that kind of said, let's do everything like this.
Oh.
Let's use the best stuff and find new ways to shorten the supply chain in any way that we can. And that's kind of been what we've been doing since.
And it sounds like that's probably what's contributed to the success that Hudson's has had.
Well, I think it garners pride with the staff. They
Sure.
see that we're not going to cut corners and that we're going to do things the right way, and they're proud of that. And it's something to be proud of. I mean, perfect example, and the customers have bought in too. So, a perfect example is this year we had a really cold, nasty snap in January, and the water temperature got down to 39 degrees and killed a lot of the shrimp that hadn't migrated offshore. So the state closed the shrimp season. Normally, we put away about 35,000 pounds to get us through January, February, March, and the first part of April. Well, this year we didn't have a spring season, so around April 15th, like clockwork, we ran out of shrimp. And the day we ran out, I had to buy in some shrimp. It was chemical-free East Coast white shrimp, frozen, because there wasn't any fresh. And our customers that day, I got 3 calls from different customers that said, when are you going to get your shrimp back? So they know the difference. And that's a good thing because we have that product 99% of the time. Sure enough, Jeff and Skip the next week went out and caught shrimp in Georgia, and we had our shrimp back. But it was a really neat, eye-opening experience that the customers have kind of learned the difference. And that's a good thing for everybody.
Sure.
That's good for the shrimpers, and that's good for commercial fishermen up and down the East Coast. The customers have to demand better quality product. And that's the way we stop seeing all these imports drive the price of shrimp down and all that good stuff.
So then what's
or bad stuff, rather.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And looking at your menu, what's your favorite dish on the menu? I know it changes, but
Mine changes with the seasons, really. So right now I love the shrimp. They're beautiful. We're seeing a lot of fresh local swordfish from my friend Bill's boat out of Mount Pleasant. He has a boat called the Ellen Jean that does commercial swordfish, and then they do a little yellowfin tuna. But I've become so spoiled rotten that when the fish comes off the boat, then I take it home and cook it for my family, or I eat here a lot. So a typical lunch for me would be a blackened fish sandwich, whichever one is the freshest. So yesterday I had a flounder sandwich, and I ordered, and I forgot. I got busy running around, and it sat under the heat lamp for 45 minutes. And then I went and ate it, and it was still delicious. And I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. And sometimes I forget how good the food is, and then, I won't eat here for a few days because I'll just not feel like seafood or whatever. And then I'll eat a sandwich. I'll be like, man, our food is really good.
So when you're not here, I mean, I don't know how often that is, but what do you do for fun?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I love hunting. I love fishing. Don't get to do it nearly as much as I used to because kids and everything,
Sure.
but I love taking them fishing. We just got a new puppy, a Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever.
Oh, wow.
And he is taking up a lot of my free time now. So doing a lot of training with him, getting him ready to hunt. Hopefully January I might be able to take him on a dove shoot or take him out duck hunting. I don't know yet. I gotta, you gotta bring them into it kind of slow and be patient. So that's taking up a lot of my time. Obviously, I try to spend as much time as humanly possible with my kids because I think that, once they get to be teenagers, they don't want anything to do with you, or at least that's what I understand. So I'm trying to soak up as much of that as I can because everybody I talk to says, spend time with them while they're young. So my wife and I were very blessed to have this business, and it's been, knock on wood, successful, and we've dodged a few major bullets with hurricanes, and we're blessed to be able to spend a lot of time with our family and really enjoy each other's company too.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a go-to drink?
I'm a pretty simple guy as far as that goes. So I do like a cold beer from now and again. I like canned Budweiser. I like my bourbon. I do like a little bit of scotch in the winter. I used to drink a little bit of vodka, but I haven't been lately. But I think a good aged bourbon, especially in the cooler months, as a nightcap is probably one of the most satisfying and warming things around. I've actually become friends with Bill Samuels, who's the son or the grandson of the founder of Maker's Mark.
Okay.
And so one day, I didn't know who he was, and he came in here, and he had asked me on a Saturday, hey, we're coming in on Tuesday for lunch. Is there any way you can go pick some of your oysters for us and we can eat them like right out of the water? And I said, sure, I'll take care of it. And I totally forgot about it. And he came in, and I saw him walk in the door, so I just ran and got on the boat, drove out, picked the oysters, brought them back, shucked them, and served them to him. And he said thank you, and we went our separate ways. He still didn't tell me who he was. He might have told me his name, but I didn't know who he was. So about 6 months later, I'm having a meeting with my liquor reps, and the liquor rep says, I got to tell you, Bill Samuels is very fond of you and would like for you to come and stay with him at his house over the weekend of this weekend. And he wants you to bring your wife, and he wants to take you on a tour of the barrels and all that. And I was like, who the heck is Bill Samuels? And he said, well, he said that you picked him some oysters and served them to him. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. So we've become kind of friends where he calls me when he's going to come in town, and we try to take care of him, make sure he gets a nice table and all that good stuff.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Well, my final question for you is it ties in with the food and travel site that I do, because travel is a huge part of my life. It always has been.
Sure.
Where is your favorite place to travel? Whether it's by yourself, with friends, with family. I mean, if you have the go-to spot.
That's a tough one. I'll tell you, there's a few, because you can't just say, your summer favorite warm destinations. So warm destinations. I like to surf, so I've been to Costa Rica a few times, and that's been really nice. I also like to fly fish, so my wife and I are taking the kids and my parents to Andros Island. It's the largest island in the Bahamas, and the most sparsely populated. And that's what I look for when I go on vacation, is seclusion. Being around people all the time, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but it is very nice to be disconnected.
Sure.
So Andros for a warm weather destination, Costa Rica also a warm weather destination. I love to elk hunt during the rut, and I've done that the last 2 years. We went to the Mescalero Indian Reservation in New Mexico, and it is the most beautiful subalpine valley terrain I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely gorgeous, wild horses everywhere, beautiful wildlife, and just a gorgeous place. And then I would say I love to ski, so I really like Deer Valley a lot. And we got the two oldest kids skiing last year. We went to Park City, but Aaron and I have kind of fallen in love with Deer Valley because we're skiers, and it's just a lot of fun.
Well, this has been really great getting to know you and a little bit more about the restaurant too, and all the history behind it. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share a little bit. And
Anytime. I'm happy to do it. Happy to do it.
We'll definitely keep coming back here and get the word out even more for your restaurant, because people have to know how amazing this place is.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.